Hey everybody, welcome to episode 36 of Pealed Back's LiveCast Conversations with, as always, I'm your host, Gene Bernier, the Enjoyment Coach. On today's episode, I have my friend Randall Keays on. Randall is a husband, a father, entrepreneur, nutrition coach, and a finance manager. Randall learned firsthand the important role nutrition plays in having the energy you need to function at your best and saw what not prioritizing it can lead to in life. This led Randall to dive into the world of nutrition, and he became a certified nutrition coach in early December of 2020. He now works with busy professionals to prioritize nutrition and regain their energy needed to get through the day through KPI Nutrition, which he founded in November of 2020. When Randall isn't working with nutrition clients, he works for the nonprofit Spinal Cord Injury Saskatchewan as a finance and materials manager. He manages the day-to-day financial operations and acquisitions for the nonprofit. Randall has also started a new venture with his brother called Two Fit Dads as a Facebook page to motivate and encourage other busy parents to take control of their physical and mental health, which they hope to grow into other social platforms. They have plans to make this even the home for a future podcast. And while his business endeavors are growing, Randall and his wife ensure that it's time to focus on raising and keeping up with their two beautiful children. Randall, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, anytime at all, my friend. I'm glad we could make this as an excuse to have another conversation.
I agree.
So obviously my words cannot do justice to everything that you've got going on. You know, obviously you're a person who's been taking a huge interest in nutrition, and you started a business in 2020 when a lot of people would be like, what? We can't be doing that, can we?
It's crazy for sure. I think it was a lost opportunity for anybody who maybe didn't start or look in deeper or figure out maybe what they could do with their lives in 2020. I mean, we worked from home. We were sent away from places. We weren't allowed to go anywhere. I mean, it was the perfect time to do a little bit of inner reflection and figure out, if this isn't what I want to do for the rest of my life, what do I want to do for the rest of my life? And start working towards something.
Yeah. Oh, 100% agree. Actually, I say that with a little bit of gist, unless I've just happened to found like a lot of the guests that have been on the show so far have all had a very similar thing. They're like, I guess now was the time. I was kind of pushed into an opportunity where I'm like, I don't like what I do. Now I'm not doing it. So I guess I should maybe go figure out what it is I like to do.
For sure. I mean, the benefit, I guess, in that story for myself and some very lucky people who didn't lose their jobs and didn't lose where they worked in a 13, 14, 15-month period, right? And are still able to work wherever it is that they work, hybrid or home or in an office even still. It wasn't, about hating or not liking what I did. It was, what else can I do? Because if something were to happen, if we shut down, right? And nutrition had a long-term kind of thing. And it's something that personally, I even juggled with and stressed out with and life situations play with it, right? And I reached out to one coach and I'm like, tell me more. And it started like, it was that moment. I was like, yeah, okay, I want to take this. I want to do this.
Well, very cool. So tell us a little bit about like what drove you down to focus on nutrition, right? There's so many pieces of the health story to get onto. What was that sexy part about nutrition that just spoke to you, right? Because like in the write-up, we said how it became a priority and energy, and maybe riff a little bit about nutrition versus exercise and how the two commingle.
Well, for sure. So let's start on that on its own, right? Nutrition is such a big part of the game, and you'll hear, and many of the coaches that I'm well connected with at this point will tell you, you can't outrun a bad diet. You can try, but you're going to work really, really, really hard to outrun a bad diet. So why run at all if you don't have to, right? I mean, if that's what you want to do and that's a part of it, great. But that's not the only piece of it, right? Nutrition is the founding blocks to putting all the pieces together. I mean, if you want to eat like crap and double or triple your workout to pay off for that, and that's what you enjoy, okay. But, if you're really trying to dig deep and you don't want to eat like crap and train your body 3-4 times as hard as it needs to do, and you've only got so much time, let's talk about nutrition, right? Let's look at what you're doing. Let's look at how things work. And it's not about eliminations, and it's not about can't have, can have, and going through all of that. You can eat what you love. There's just ways to go about it, right? It's not like it bugs me when I hear somebody say I can't eat carbs. Really? Because they're delicious and I love them, and I figured out what I like and don't like about them, and so I deal with that. But if you're not eating carbs because a specific diet or Karen at the office or whoever it might be said don't eat carbs, well, maybe that's working for them. But then the bigger picture is every time you jump from a diet and you yo-yo back and you yo-yo back and you yo-yo back, right? The long-term thought process is gone. And I guess that's another big part of where I'm at too, right? And what I do within the coaching is we take the great big goal, narrow it down to something smaller so that you can make them smaller bits to chew on, right? You're not working so hard to, oh my God, I got to lose this, 90 or 100 pounds. It's what steps can I take and what habits can I do to get me to that? So that's, I guess, kind of where the other part of the passion came in, is the need and the desire to work with people and to help other people reach their goals and their dreams and wanting to see other people win. And so I think that's what really pushed me into that category. I mean, I always had an interest, and then you kind of put all the pieces together and you realize, no, this is where the passion is. It's what it is.
Right on. That's one of the things that you said that sticks out is talking about the habits, and it not being about focusing on the specific weight, but what are you doing to live the lifestyle of somebody that's healthy, right? What would future you, who's healthy, and get that picture in your mind, what are they doing, and what could you start doing like them today? That's kind of what I hear from that. Is that an accurate reflection?
For sure. Definitely a part of it. But I mean, let's not also forget that we're going to have moments where we slip, and that's okay.
What? We're not perfect?
We're not perfect.
What? Oh, if this program's now about being perfect.
I can start with me there. I know I am not perfect. And so expecting perfection from yourself or anybody else is, even let's look at this at a business perspective, right? You create habits because you create a functioning machine, and that business, that thing, it grows and it moves. Well, that's all done out of habits and learning from mistakes and improving upon systems. You can apply that kind of mentality to the nutrition field, right? What worked, what didn't work, and how can we make it work better?
Right. So it's a constant and never-ending kind of like cycle of like that improvement then of around, you can change something, and your body's going to tell you how you feel.
Totally.
Right. And then if your body's like, I don't like this, I feel like crap, then you can switch it, make that change on the fly without being like stuck to that. What they call them, like mono diets, where they're like, it's all carbs, it's all bacon, whatever else, right?
Well, and another big part to that too, not unlike any other habits that we've changed, how does it make you feel? What would you do different, right? You journal that in your own book for something that you're working on. I did this, I tried this didn't work, I changed this, right? Let's think about the light bulb or electricity in general. It didn't work until it worked.
Yeah.
But we kept notes on it, right? And we can see what the thought process was. So when we apply that even into the nutrition world, and it can come down to food allergies. I really love to eat this, but my body doesn't like it. But I haven't been diagnosed, let's say, with a food allergy. I'm going to jot this down in my journal. I don't like the way I feel after I eat. Right. And then you can go deeper into that. Why did you eat it? What was going on that day? How did it make you feel? Were you stressed? Were you upset? Were you just like, oh my God, I need to eat a Pop-Tart?
Yeah.
Right. And jotting that down and keeping track of that and knowing, being able to look back and go, right, that's why I don't eat this, or that's why, right? You get 6, 8, 9 months into a journey, whether, we're talking business or nutrition or whatever it is, you get 6, 8, 9 months into this journey, and you can look back and go, right, this is where we started from, and this is why we didn't do this, or this is why we did this. And you're habit stacking the whole way through.
Right. And, maybe talk about what you see when you work with your clients around habit stacking, and do you get into like the mechanics of a habit with them?
Well, sure. That's definitely an element to the whole process. Why do you do what you do? And that's going deeper than I get up at 7, get showered, get to work for 8, take my coffee at 10, right? Like go deeper than that and be deeper than that. Why 7? Why not 6? Why not 7:30? Okay, well, you have to be at work for 8 and you've got an hour commute. So, okay, now we're looking at 6:30, right? Like digging deeper and moving into the habits further and further. Some of it can totally be related to, triggers and traumas and things from your past. I always eat this because this reminds me of my childhood, or I don't eat this because this reminds me of my childhood. We all have a food we do not eat that our parents made us eat, right? And that's going a little deeper than habit, but there's a reason why we avoid it, and there's a reason why we keep around it and not include it into specific spaces, right? So when we're looking at habits, I want to deep dive. I want to know, start to finish. You get up at 5 a.m. because why? Because you don't have time at 7 o'clock at night, or you want to eat a meal at 10 o'clock at night because that's your normal time to have a meal. What's put us in that point? And not that there's a wrong or right time to eat or a good or bad food, but why, if we're looking at doing some changes, we need to know what habits brought us to certain levels, right? So that, and as you as a coach too, right? It comes to the point where you need to kind of know what's the thinking, what's the ticking clock in there, and what's happening to figure out the smaller details so that you can make small shifts to a different direction and just encourage a little bit of a different view. Right. And that little bits comes up again, right? You had the just take little bites, and I wanted to say no pun intended, but that's what it seems to be, is like, Rome wasn't built in a day, and you didn't get yourself into a questionable situation with your health in a day. That's right. So thinking that you're going to get out of it in a day or a week is like, no, this is a journey, and this isn't just a diet. This is a choice to change your lifestyle, so maybe you can live longer and enjoy your lifestyle a little bit. Small incremental changes over the long term. Yeah. Big piece of it, right? And I mean, you can scroll through some of my social medias and stuff, and I use that in a number of places. And it's a video I have saved on my phone, so when I hit my own point where I'm like, whoa, let's stop, let's refocus, why, what happened, and whatever, and I come back to this. Small incremental changes are more monumental than big change short term, right? And building, and because they all habit stack, they all build. Let's fix this, 2 to 3 weeks, we can add this, 2 to 3 weeks, we can add this, 2 to 3 weeks, we can add this. All of a sudden we're 12 weeks into a story, and we've celebrated small micro wins all along the way. And the individual, yourself, myself, whoever it might be, you get a small moment of like, yes, I did that. Yes. I get to give out a little bit of praise, sure, but it's not about that. It's your micro win, it's your celebration, right? And you get to say, I did that, and I accomplished it, and I made this, 1, 2, 3 week little small change. And I mean, we can get as minute as we can, and build it into the next thing. I mean, if it depends on the size of the goal, how small you need to break it down, but it is, as you said, and irony behind the small bite-sized pieces, but it's true. Yeah, it's hard to chew on a whole steak, but if you cut it apart and do something with it, then you can evaluate every part along the way. Yeah, well, one of the things there that is that I enjoy hearing other people talk about is celebrating their little wins. Right, we have a nasty habit as a group of humans to like really look at the negative and come down on ourselves, and not give ourselves props for whatever reason. We've all got our own stories around that, right? But by looking at it, going, oh, this week, all I committed, I kept to a commitment. Look at this little commitment I kept to. I did it. And then 2 weeks later, it'd be like, well, it's a little bit bigger. Like those 1% stacks over the course of a year. If you're 1% better even just every week, by the end of the year, you're going to see phenomenal results, be it in business, in your life, or in your nutrition, and your health, right? Like if instead of trying to like go for the gold right away, burn out and go, oh, I didn't get the results I wanted, then tell yourself at the top of that roller coaster, I'm a big piece of dog poo and I'm not worth any of it. And all those stories come flooding back. And like you talked about the yo-yo, I'm sure you can attest to the fact when you get on that yo-yo experience, you usually go further than you were when you started it. It's true, for sure. And I think it's because we just, it's all mindset, right? I was there, now I'm here. Okay, I slipped back there. And then, we briefly mentioned before the show about the busy part, right? And then you kind of forget where you are because you're busy living life and you're busy doing things. And that's where that extra creeps in. And it's like, oh boy, right? I didn't want to be here and I didn't want to see this. And what do I do to fix that? Well, jumping on the next yo-yo is not the solution, right? I mean, we've seen this across the board. If there was a perfect magic pill, everybody would have had it with two shakes and a sensible dinner in the 80s. Yep.
And the reality is, when we talk about a magic pill, is like there is one. It's like little small steps.
Yeah.
Right. Like there's no pill, there's no magical surgery or anything else that's going to provide you that long-term effect. Now we're talking like if you're not in a crisis situation.
For sure. There are
right?
definitely medical interventions required in different scenarios.
Yeah. For the right place, the right time. But overall, even then, you still are going to have to change some habits about it, right? It comes down just doing that. Magic pill is like doing one little thing that maybe tomorrow you would be like really grateful you did.
Absolutely. And I mean, it can be as simple as, packing a snack Sealy bag filled with carrots and cucumbers, right? That is going to be your 10 o'clock coffee, your 3 o'clock coffee. It can be that simple. You have not changed anything else, but cut up a cucumber and some carrots or some celery or whatever it is and put it in a zipper bag. One step. And you do that for 5 days and you get to Friday and and then you figure out Saturday, Sunday. And that's where, I mean, sometimes lots of things fall apart. And I mean, you and I both worked in this professional world where Saturdays and Sundays are like let loose, right? You'll throw it all away. You're not, routine's gone. And that's where a whole other element of this comes in too, right? I mean, we get to Saturday afternoon and we've had brunch and we've done extra things and we're having, takeout or whatever, because it's like a freebie. It's a free day. But the whole day doesn't have to be free. And this comes
Saturdays don't count, right?
This comes back to that perfection piece, right? We're not all perfect, but if we acknowledge that there are ways to plan those kinds of things into our lives, right? I mean, any business owner, even, you want to go on a week-long vacation, you got to leave your business in control of your staff, or if you're a one-man operation, you're going to close, quote unquote, for a week. Yeah. You have to do all the steps to get you to that so that you can do that, right? So I mean, we take that over to the nutrition world and you plan that in. You want to eat, or you're totally going to get drinks and big supper with the guys on Saturday. Great. Plan it, right? It's not a freebie day to just go and do whatever the hell you want. It's a day it takes some structure and some strategy. Yeah. And it's not about cheat the whole day away. It's, it may be a refeed day, or it might be a flex day or an off day, right? Like it's a day to plan and think about it. And so I think we can apply these terms to, cohesively to a lot of different areas. It's not rocket science, but it's rocket science.
Well, I heard you talk about refeed days. Was it either on TikTok or your Instagram? Probably TikTok.
Yeah. I think it appeared in both, but yeah.
So tell everybody what a refeed day is, and like maybe share a little bit about like that cheat versus the refeed and how you can change the viewpoint of it.
Sure. So a cheat day is like your golden pass. That's your throw it all away. And it falls into that labeling category of good and bad food. And so you're going to cheat and you're going to eat everything that you normally don't and that you can't eat. Yeah. Well, food isn't good or bad, right? It doesn't own that. That's you and that's your choice and that's what you're going to put with it. With the cheat day isn't your I mean, if you're going to golden card it and you're going to throw the whole day away, then I mean, you're going to work out, you're going to pay for that. You're going to see some fluctuations in a direction you probably don't want to take it if you're looking at weight loss. Yeah. If you're looking at a weight gain, it could be a nice balance for you, but that's not always the case. And more often than not, it's not the case, right? So I don't encourage cheat days. We look at refeeds. So refeeds are like you are very structured. You're going into some sort of competition. You're really working hard towards something, but your calories are working hard just as hard as you are, right? So you are eating a lower level, you're working out, you're doing a bunch of things, and now you need to eat. And that refeed day is so that you don't actually like try to eat somebody else's arm. You're in the gym and you're starving and you're ready to just lose it. And it's going to stop and help you. And it gives you something to look forward to. I'm so strict. I'm so structured. There's no deviation at all here. I need a day to just breathe. And that's a day, but it's structured. It's not a gold card to go do whatever you want. It still has a plan. Right. So whereas say a flex day or an off day is you've been, or a diet break. Let's do that one next. So diet break, which is somewhere that I've been for a little while. It's when you've dieted for so long and you've stuck to a plan for so long that you're starting to get a little bit bored, and you're starting to, it's not as hardcore as, say, somebody that's necessarily taking a refeed day. We can apply that here, but it's usually somebody who's just dieted for a long period of time and they just need to take a break. They just need to let their body have some time, recoup, rebuild, eat food without tracking, eat food, keep a journal, or still kind of paying attention. But again, it's not a throwaway. You're sticking to a little bit of what your plan is. Living in that maintenance calorie world is the ideal space, right?
Right.
Plus or minus a few pounds and you're okay. Have a few high days, have a few low days, but at the end of a story, you can still walk out of it pretty close to being comfortable. Whereas flex days or off days have whole other stories with them, right? You've got a wedding coming up. You're going to go to a wedding next weekend and you don't know what to eat and you don't want to stress out about eat. Well, let's take the day off. It's still not a gold card. You still have to think about it, but just take a day off. It's okay to have some breathing room and allow for that, right? It's okay to enjoy life, right? Like, it's not about you're getting half a cup of rice and 5 cups of salad and that's all you're going to eat for the next 6 weeks. It's not about that, right? Everybody needs to have a little bit of room and something to look forward to sometimes.
Right. Well, I think like the way that I hear this and play it back to the business world is like talking to people and saying, hey, you got to put some flex in your schedule, right? So that you're not just meeting. And then at the end of the day going, why am I burnt out? Why don't I want to do these anymore, right? You've got to have that little bit of give room for the unexpected or the serendipitous of life to be able to come in and allow a little bit of life to happen, because we can't control that part. All we can control is how we're going to, react and then respond to life.
Well, for sure. And staring, and I mean, these days we're staring at screens all day for a multitude of reasons, right? It's not just our job, it's our meeting and it's our conversations and whatever. But when you get to the end of the day and you are that drained, just you have no energy, and it's a really bad time to make bad choices, right? Because you have no decision-making power left. You posted this on your LinkedIn the other day, right?
Yeah.
About how you set it out the night before so that you're ready. Well, I follow the same suit. It is like on the edge of the couch. I'm ready to go. It's all laid out so that when I get up and go, because decision-making is so important and there's only so much room for the really big decisions. And once those are gone, you make a lot of not necessarily great decisions from there on in, because you've bought all your time, you've spent it all. I mean, we can apply that in a lot of different ways, right? If eating something or getting home after work, you're so dog tired that you don't want to cook, well, maybe you need a day to meal prep and meal plan and get, sort yourself out so that your week is solid, so that when you do get home and you are exhausted, it's either already cooked or it takes a lot less work because you're just looking at your menu board. This night we are having, and it doesn't have to be chicken and broccoli, right? Like, it's it can be whatever you've planned for. But I mean, even if you're not following some sort of a nutrition plan, you save your decisions and make life way less complicated on yourself. Yeah. You're going to save yourself some money in the big picture. You're not going to make near as many takeout stops. And I mean, even if it comes down to like breakfast, I don't have time in the morning. I don't prioritize time, right? Here's a big part in how we plan our days and our decision making. I don't prioritize time in the morning to have breakfast. We'll make it the night before. Yeah. Right? I mean, there's a lot of things you can cook the night before that are either okay cold or can do a fast reheat in the microwave or on the oven or whatever it is, right? I mean, save yourself some time and a little bit of money, but just like clear your thoughts so that when you're ready to go and you're lit and you're on fire for the day, you're ready to go, right? You're not forward thinking all the other little things that you have to get done.
Right. And you're spending that decision power on the important things in your life, right? And like you said, doesn't matter the size of the decision, what it is, you're still burning it. And if you've burnt all those decisions in the morning, or like you've gone through half of your fuel tank by like the time you get to work, be like, ooh, are you starting to wonder why at like 3:00 you're like, oh, I'm going to fall asleep here? There's a reason for that.
In corporate America, where, I mean, I worked, it's in Canada nonetheless, but we called it corporate America. We called it the 4:00 wall. You went for that 3:00 coffee and it was like routine. You could pick them out of the group. And I mean, I worked in a place, there was 50 people in the building, and at 4:00, you could do a walk around the building and you could see who had burnt their entire day. And at 4:00, they're just like zombies staring at a screen. Like they just don't even know what the next thing should be.
Yeah. been there, done that before.
Right?
I remember when I was still at Cheeky, I stopped drinking coffee in the afternoon because I was notorious for like that 2 o'clock, be like, oh, I could nap right now. And a couple of the other people in the office were like, yeah, I feel tired too. I'm like, I'm going to try this. I don't know if it's going to be the source of it or not. Like, started to get off coffee for a little bit. We're drinking more tea, and we're like, hey, notice we haven't had like the slump all of a sudden. But like, what else was happening? Like, coffee's not a bad thing. And it wasn't like I was drinking like jugs of it either. But it's like, what else was contributing that I wasn't even thinking about as a factor of it? Like the fact that coffee in the morning gave me just enough boost to get me to 2. Like, what else was what else was going on?
For sure. And let's not negate what you had for lunch, right? The food you actually ate, was it enough to power you through your afternoon? Or was it totally like, I got a full belly and I want a Christmas dinner nap right now? Like what did you eat for lunch, right?
Yeah.
And that is another massive attributor to that 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock wall that you just like, you reach for the coffee or the energy drink of choice, right? And find yourself still hitting a wall. You've just moved it over a little bit, but the wall still comes. I mean, you still hit it. You still have to make a decision about something, and you still have to process. You just moved it over a little bit. I mean, it's still there, and that's another big story too, right?
Right. Well, maybe let's jump into, because I guarantee you there's lots of people that are out there that are going, man, I am tired all the time. So let's talk about what we eat and the wall showing up and having that Christmas nap every day between 2 to 4.
So I am a coffee drinker, and I love coffee. I don't waste a day's worth of calories in my first drink in the morning. I won't call out companies, and I'm not going to give you grief if your favorite drink in the morning is frothy tall and has whipped cream and chocolate drizzle, and it's cold and it's the biggest cup you can get, but there's probably a large amount of calories in there. You just wasted for your day.
Yeah.
Right? A meal's worth for sure in just a coffee. But when you look at how you feel and you're going through that journaling process, I ate this and I feel like this. We're talking, this is the level of importance you need to give it. I had, takeout from a restaurant because it was close and convenient, and I was whipping out on my lunch break to do 2 things and I got to get back to work. At 2 o'clock, you're exhausted and you did that 12-to-1 run. Is it because of what you ate? Is it the coffee? Is it a mix of all of it? If my morning is a little bit slow, or I'm feeling, my morning's a little bit slow, I may have an extra cup of coffee, but by the time I get to work, I'm done. It's water from there on in. I got rid of that daytime coffee for the same reason. I think I can get away without this. I think it became a crutch and it just became the next thing, right? So grab a water bottle and see where it takes you.
Yeah.
But it's so important. What did you eat the night before? How do you feel in the morning? What did you eat for breakfast? What did you eat for lunch? How many, what are you just throwing away on that decision-making that is, not near as powerful as, having a breakfast that's filled with protein, because the protein powers your day. It keeps you going as long. It keeps you satiated, right? So your body has to work a little harder to break it down. You feel fuller longer. Yeah. Are you snacking? Is the person that, you work in your office, and we're talking pre-days, and I remember many of these, somebody'd run out and come back with 2 boxes of donuts, a thing of muffins, and then the next day is somebody's birthday and there's a giant, cake sitting on the table and everybody's eating and it's nonstop. And I get it. I worked in that environment. Dealt with that. That's nasty. I'll tell you, that's nasty.
Well, all you've got me craving for is a donut and an ice cap so far. So you're I think we're going in the wrong direction.
But it's those things, and it becomes mindless, right? Like the whole group is getting together to eat something, and food is social. Right? We are social pack animals. So when we sit down to a meal, especially in an office environment, you typically want to go when other people are eating because food is social. But what about the food that you're eating is not or is giving you energy? I mean, if you're going to eat food that wants to give you energy, you're going to look for whole foods. You're going to eat your proteins. You're going to get your carbs and some fats, but you're going to get some fruits and veggies in there too. But if the scale is, it's a 3-part, 5-part scale, right? And if one part is not quite balanced with something else, it's not feeding your energy level, we need to look at that. We need to consider that, because I kid you not, That 3 o'clock wall could have came from the donut you had at 10, the coffee and the takeout you had at lunchtime, and the other donut you had at 2 because you were feeling tired, right? Like you become mindless. The decision making is gone. It's just, I need something. I've hit a wall. I'm drained. I got to get away from my desk or my computer, or I'm done with calls for the day. And so mindless eating isn't benefiting anybody. Right? Structured and timing and knowing when, you want to eat and what you want to do. But the whole other side of the process from mindless is mindful eating, right? Stopping eating when you feel full, that 80% story, right? Let your stomach tell your brain, hey man, I got some food in here and we need to think about this for a second, and just let it happen, right? It's not easy and it doesn't always come naturally, but it comes at a stage, right? You can go so hard for so long in a diet and never figure it out, but you may have never known you need to just take that diet break, and then you have it figured out, right? Like if you're going to jump way off the schedule at your diet break and you put on weight that you didn't want to put on, then let's look back at what happened, right? What did take a journal if you're not going to be tracking every day. Pay attention to how food makes you feel, because energy is such a big part of it. If we're going to fill our lives with high sugary, yucky drinks and food that, is okay once in a while, but if we're going to do it 2-3 times a day, or, anywhere between 10 and 14 times a week, we're causing our own problems. Right. And if you're hitting that wall and you're exhausted, it may be time maybe we need to swap some things out. And I'm not saying we can't eat foods we love, because we can and we should enjoy them. But if you're eating lunch by yourself and you're mindlessly playing on your phone and you're not talking with anybody, you're not reading a book or whatever, your brain doesn't have to work. It's not thinking about what you're doing. So can you stop eating when you're full if your brain's not even paying attention?
Right. No, because then you're in robot mode. The subconscious is just like, cool, we're running the show. Things are going. Put the
autopilot. Autopilot is bad.
Like autopilot's like, this is good. This is tasty, and this is keeping us occupied.
That's right. And it's human process. As I reach for my water bottle, this hand to mouth thing, it's just like, we learned it as toddlers, right? Everything goes in the mouth. We have to taste things, feel it, texture, whatever. That's how we learn. So that has never left us, right? So when your hands are unoccupied and your brain's, completely shut itself down for an hour, or that 3 o'clock wall or whatever it is, what is the first thing your hand wants to do? Everything goes to the mouth.
So yeah, that's an interesting way of thinking about it, but how it pulls right back to us being, that is like a default mode action. Yep. And if we're as we exhaust our conscious brain and the subconscious, then it just like we fall back to our lowest level of preparedness, more or less. And that story and that habit, that's hardwired. There's no getting rid of that.
Well, for sure. We are programmed for survival.
Yeah.
And if we let our brain do what it needs to do and we don't get in the way of it, we will survive, because we're programmed for that. It's going to get real complex, and some people may struggle with it for a variety of reasons, but it is our core programming.
Yeah.
We will find food, we will find water, and we will find shelter. It's whether or not we can build a shelter, because that's not my forte, but I could do a bunch of things, but I'm not building a house. But it's even getting to that, right? Like what is our programming, and not trying to deprogram ourselves, but become more in tune with what we are and where we are. And we can talk about weight gains and weight loss and whatever, but you know what? There are people out there that are just very happy with where they are and accept that too. Yeah. They may not fit the image that somebody else might have of them, and that's okay. If they're okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
Right. And so if their autopilot is different than your autopilot, great. It's such a big circle of different things.
Yeah. And it does all come back down to awareness, right? Like you can train yourself for that awareness to catch yourself in those triggers before it falls into the actions of the habits. And
absolutely. Those triggers show up everywhere. We can even go back to, just the business world. What sets you off and gets you right fired up, and you got to stop and like you got to check yourself at your own door, because it's your own place of work and it's your own reaction to it, right? When you're in your home, it's a little more comfortable. You can lose your cool and nobody hears you, or you can here's another sad problem, but it's a problem, and it's a problem I've become very aware of, is when you work from home, the kitchen never closes. Yeah. Right? It's a 24-hour drive-through every time you have to walk through. Now, in my house, the kitchen is the hub. The only way to get to the basement or to the back door is to go through the kitchen. It is the hub of the upper floor. So when you're mindless and you're bored and you want something, that is a room that you need to like make that decision. When I'm in here and I eat, I will sit. Yeah. And I will make a point, or I'm filling my water bottle or whatever it is, right? And acknowledging that, right? Otherwise, it totally becomes a 24-hour drive through. The pantry, the fridge, the stove, the microwave, it's all available to you. You have to control it. Yeah.
It's bringing that awareness to it and being very conscious with the choices then that you make, as you walk through the kitchen and everything else. When you go to open up the cupboard, be like, my default mode would be like, oh, there's a Cadbury cream eggs. Yes. Thank you, Easter. And now it's just like, no, bad hand. Stop that.
You know what? It came down to, for myself, and I mean, those first few weeks for sure from home were definitely some of the hardest times, but it came down to, for myself, stand in the fridge or stand in the pantry. No, go fill your water bottle. Yeah. Mentally put something else in front, right? We come back to habits. Mentally put something else in front of an action that you're going to gain a small benefit from, but it doesn't require a massive decision-making process, right? I think I'm hungry. Oh, you know what? I'm going to fill my water bottle. It doesn't matter if you drink it or not. Fill your water bottle and leave the room. You can then really decide, am I hungry? Did I want to eat something? Should I go back? Like, is it that time of the day or whatever? But it comes down to that habit and comes down to what we're doing with it, right? And we live with this every day, and we cycle through these decisions and we cycle through the habits and we build on them and we slip and we come back to some that we're like, I thought we dealt with this, but all right, let's do it one more time. I beat the monster once, if you want to call it that. I can go through this again. It's a small moment and I know how we did it last time. So let's one more time.
Yeah, you just got to, and that's the whole thing. It's. I was talking with somebody else on one of the other episodes. It's like every day is day one, right? Like, and every choice is a new choice, right? Like, it's, if you look at it that way, it's like, am I making the best choice today? Am I making the best choice in this moment? Am I really hungry? Do I want this, or am I bored? Right? Like, saying why can be a really challenging thing for some people. Like, why is a very defensive-based question. Right. And so if you ask yourself why, you have to kind of give yourself a little bit of leeway to be like, if I'm asking myself why, is it okay that I get defensive about it? Mm-hmm. Yes or no?
For sure. Right. Vocalizing it absolutely makes it so much more real. I totally agree. You now have to address yourself, right? You now have to adjust for that, right? Another big factor, I mean, barely touched on here, but the hydration, right? And knowing that you need to drink water and how much water you should have. And there are some numbers and there's some specifics, but and through my brother and I, we talked about this, and this is a post on our Two Fit Dads page. I created it, and it's 4 hydration hacks that we use. One of them is mine, one of them is his, and 2 are just some that we've heard from others. And it's just a quick, easy reference. I like to use the same. Now I've got a different water bottle, but I like to use the same water bottle. It stays in the kitchen right next to the sink. I know it's 500 mils. Yeah. I do not have to get to the end of my day and go 5, 1, 15, 2, right? I'm like, oh, it's 500 mils and I need to drink so many of these in a day. So I quit counting 500s. It's 1, 2, 3. It's a lot less work. It's easier for my decision-making process, right? I give it a different level of power. His is, here's the water I need to drink in the day. Every water bottle is filled. It's sitting on the counter, in the fridge, whatever he chooses for that day. Finishes one, okay, I now have this many left before I hit the number I need to drink in a day. And it's just recreating habits. Now, whether or not that needs to be one that lives forever, doesn't matter. Once you realize how much you should drink and you have it all out in front of you, it's an eye-opener too. You mean it's back to those habits and understanding what do you need and where do you go.
So what's a good rule of thumb then from your guys' post around hydration?
So we're going to go with what does the book say here? So there's some technicality behind this, but an average sedentary male should be having close to 4 liters of water a day, whereas an average sedentary female should be close to 3.
Yeah.
So if you can get to the end of the day and you're not a water drinker and you build that habit up, and I mean, I as a coffee drinker and as a hardcore office coffee drinker, I did not drink water for a long time. It was not a drink of choice by any standard, and now it is virtually replaced everything.
I can agree with that big time. So earlier I'd mentioned before the show got kicked off, I've done 75 hard. I'm in another the last leg of it right now. So like part of that is drinking 4 liters of water every day. So you see me sipping this, this is 500 milliliters, this cup. And I know how many it takes. I need to have 8 of them at least. And then I get to have that little checky, but it's incredible just how much water I drink now compared to what it used to be. And
Absolutely.
Like how it does become that drink of choice, because I've just, every time when I started it, it's just like, this is good for me. This is good for me. This is good for me. Right. Like reprogramming myself. And now if I'm off 75 hard and maybe only have like 6 of these, like I'm like dry mouth and everything else. Like it's incredible how quickly the body goes. Yeah.
I am totally like blown away by as soon as the body realizes how thirsty you are, and you don't even really like, sometimes you don't even recognize it, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I need to have water and I need to have it now. Like I think I need to drink double, but I'm just, your lips get dry or you blink and you get that sawdusty feeling and you're like, whoa, I need to drink some water. Right. And we went years without even thinking about it.
Oh, big time. And it's incredible. Like I don't know, I think just drinking the water makes a huge impact on our body, like composition and everything as well.
Sure, absolutely. And it's another way to play with those habits, right? And it's another way to gain a little bit of power without putting a ton of thought into a decision. Yeah. I'm going to the kitchen. I think I'm hungry. Maybe I just need a glass of water. Maybe I actually am hungry. But knowing kind of a baseline of where your water should be based on, if you're high activity and you're working 70, hours a day and you're going to the gym 7 days a week for another 2 hours after that, sure, your water intake's going to be way higher. But for average Joe Blow sitting at a desk, not really doing a bunch of body movements, 4 liters of water can sound astronomical. But I tell you, if you're looking for a reason to play on your phone, you can find one by drinking water if at work, because you have to leave your desk. But I mean, and jokes aside, it's a massive change, even personally, and that's another, factor when dealing with clients and talking with people. How much water do you drink? And I'm not, the water police, and I'm not going to give you crap if you say, yeah, I can only, I struggle to drink a liter of water a day. Okay. But I want to know your habit. Why do you struggle with that? What's wrong with that, right? What's the trigger for drinking it? What's the trigger for not drinking it? And why, when you have a cup of coffee and a water bottle side by side, and the water bottle's full and the coffee's empty, do you leave and go fill your coffee cup? Why? What is it? Because you want to get up and you want to move? I respect that. Grab your water bottle and go for a walk around the building.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. So you remember how I said at the start of this, we were going to start talking and then 40 minutes were going to evaporate?
I did, yes.
So it's 44 minutes actually. So I want to be respectful of your time. You've got a family and everything else. So why we end it is, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you? I know we've got a bunch of the links down below. Is there any other places or, types of people that should definitely reach out?
Well, for sure. I mean, I personally work with some busy professionals, and that's a little bit of my client base. If somebody doesn't necessarily fit into side of that, I have a number of other, coaches that I work with and that I know that I can share the wealth. And, if somebody's interested and it's not an ideal client for myself, I'm happy to refer along best fits are best fits. And let's be real, you're a coach too. Not everybody's a perfect fit for you, and you're not a perfect fit for everybody else. And that's okay. But yeah, so I mean, Instagram, KPI Nutrition, Twitter, I'm there, TikTok, I'm there. So, I mean, that's probably the best way.
Nice.
And if they're interested in getting into coaching, there's links and there's whatever within my Instagram and Twitter profiles to fill out. It's i.e. like an application form, but it just helps me learn a little bit more about you.
Yeah, get you prepared and find out, is this a hell yes or is it a no? And we have to find somebody else.
Sure. And sometimes that doesn't happen right away, and it comes in a little bit after some conversation, and you're like, nah.
And that's the whole thing, working with a coach, period. It is a relationship building, right? We're building a relationship together because there's a goal and there's a dream that you're looking to accelerate yourself towards.
Absolutely.
So that's why you work with a coach. We're here for the future part.
Exactly.
So I have one last question I ask everybody. So this is the end of the show. We're going to jump into my time machine. We're going to go 10 years back. We're going to open the door, and you've got one piece of advice you can give Randall 10 years ago. What would it be?
It would be do it and do it now. And the context to that is, as I mentioned before the show, kind of where things have been and coming into this. I know where I was. I know where I was physically. It would be the year that I would have, or a few months off, but it would be the same year that I would have what I considered, it's my only surgery, but monumental, a surgery because it's a nutrition-based problem. It was a year that I, young kids trying to deal, well, only one child, sorry, at the time, and just trying to put all those pieces together and realizing the brown wall that I was staring at in the 4-person cubicle box that I was in will be the same. And it's not, I'm not harping on cubicle environments, whatever, but it wasn't the best place for me. And I knew that. And so I would tell myself, do it and do it now, because I hung out in that for another 2 years and really played with, how do I not do this? And how do I not be miserable every day? And how come going to work makes me so upset? And how come I need 30 minutes of drive time just to scream at a dashboard because I was so frustrated? Here is the part of it that I loved, though. They switched to a brand new massive program that required training and it required education. And I became a quote unquote super user. And I got to teach other people. And that's what lit the fire. I got to teach, and I was given the ability to teach other people how to do the job that I did and how to do the job that they were doing, because I became so familiar with the program and with the application. That's where it clicked. That's when I started seeing, this is not the place for me, but I know I want to work with people.
Right. That's awesome. That's a great piece of advice. Just do it.
Just do it.
Pull the trigger. Get her done.
And jump in both feet. Don't just toe the water, because it doesn't. It only sets you up for more fear and more triggers and more trauma, because I wish I coulda, woulda comes into play. And then if you just do it, what is the fear of failure is not a natural fear. That's something we're taught.
Yeah.
Right. So what's the worst case scenario? You're going to lose out on some funds, or you're going to risk. I mean, if you're risking your life, don't do it. That's bad. Yeah. But I mean, it depends on what we're looking at, right? Like if you want change, you have to be able to want change. And so do it, and do it now. And if it means 1% every day, or 1% a week, or 1% a month, right? We take that one habit and change it in a month. We're still building on something, and you're still working towards it, but you need to know what your North Star is, and you need to just go for it. Yeah.
100% agree with you. That's a great piece of advice. Well, Randall, thank you so much for being on the show today. Really, really appreciated our conversation. And to everybody that's watching, remember, this time I want you to find one thing that you can make a little tweak in your week to make yourself a little bit happier, maybe you're a little bit healthier, and bring those smiles out. We'll talk to you next week. This is Gene signing off for episode 36 of the LiveCast Conversation With. All right.
Thanks for having me.